I have a little bit of problem over on my side of town. What's been happening, starting about a year ago, we've had 4 or 5 different accidents on our little bridge that crosses East 10th Street. And most recently, since we've had diversion of traffic from I-25 coming around our street over there, people are doing outrageously fast speeds through there. And the speed limit's only 15 miles an hour right in front of our house. And what I'm here is come to ask the commission, see if there's any way I could get some speed bumps put on that road right there. And also saying I want to appreciate the job that the city did today. They finally patched our potholes. The potholes were, I think, were the cause of one of the accidents we had about 3 weeks ago right there. I think this lady was trying to dodge the potholes, and she got in the opposite lane, and another vehicle coming from the other side got in her lane, and she ended up hitting the abutment and tearing it up. So if you would consider putting speed bumps on East 10th Street, I would sure appreciate it. I'd like one on each side of the bridge would be nice, and then one right in front of my house would be perfect, because I've got a 10-year-old grandson that likes to play outside a lot, and you can't play outside anymore with the traffic the way that it is.
Mayor and Commission, Mr. Sintas, let me do a review of the speed bump idea. There's kind of a pro and con to putting in
Okay.
speed bumps, and
All right.
so that they're appropriate in some certain circumstances. They can cause problems in other circumstances. Let me catch you out there. We'll look at that. I'll talk to the chief here about some patrol on the frontage
Okay.
road there too. I'm sure that we get some
All right.
speeding going on down there, and a lot of times that'll help. We'll look at the signage out there. But let me try to catch you out there. I know we've had some issues with potholes there, and we did try to make that a priority as far as getting over and fixing them. Some of those holes were pretty bad. I would tell the commission that in addition, we've had a couple of incidents on the bridge, and we have 2 sections of guardrail to repair there, and that's the issue there is just getting the contractor there to fix those things. So that's something we're trying to get to as quickly as we can. But that's on our list as well. But Mr. Sentis, if I could probably do some review on that, talk to you
All right.
about that out there.
I'm
We've
at
got a
home
couple of
anytime after
strategies,
3
so-
o'clock, so I'll be
Okay,
fine.
all right. All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Read and act on Resolution 2015-33, adopting and directing staff to develop, participate in, and assist with the tree planting project. Mr. Stafford?
Well, this is my annual visit about trees. Most of you have heard this a couple of times, if not several. This is the 4th year. Funding is available through the New Mexico Forestry Division for trees up to $6,000 for trees that go on government land or municipally owned or right-of-way land. And we've been awarded the grant the last 3 years and have put in trees. The next granting cycle falls before your next meeting. So I'm here to see if you want to go forward. This has been a partnership of Grow Raton and the City of Raton as we've done the trees and the Colfax County Master Gardeners. We have been receiving the $6,000 or close to the $6,000 each of these years, and then the city has provided a water tap and assistance with cutting the sidewalk and various parts of the project depending on where it is. Last year we had approved, when I came before you, to do the block between Cook and Park on First Street, but some money became available to Main Street to do a design work before putting in those trees, and we thought there's no point in putting in the trees if we're going to have to tear them out for a redesign. So we changed and put them in where we did this year, which is Second and Cook, and then the corner of Clark and Third. And so we've put in trees at both of those. I don't know if you've noticed them traveling back and forth. This year, I've talked with Scott a little bit. We talked a little bit about the bridge, with the railroad bridge by City Market, but and I haven't told Scott this, the Forestry Division said that aspen will not grow in the boxes that are there. They'll tear that apart and die because of their root circumstance. They're not a very easy root system to work with for planting. But the one that I think we've agreed to work toward, if the commission approves it, is across from the post office on the El Portal property, directly across there, where there's the old El Portal sign that needs to be torn down, and there's two concrete blocks that were steps up into the buildings that are a hazard. I just talked to John Robertson, and he said I don't know if he said he fell or almost fell, but he thought he would have hurt himself badly. Didn't, luckily, but those are something that the city needs to get out of there in any event. So this is a good way to do that, and our thought is to there's already some planters there, which will help us with some of the costs. And if we if we get the maximum number of trees that we can request and put in this year, which would be 15, we could do a row in front of between the sidewalk and the curb, which we've been doing at the other locations, and then a second row back into the El Portal a little bit, 4, 5, 6, 8 feet, put a couple of benches there and have a little bit of a park space across from the post office there that people could sit and sort of have a little grove of trees forming. I think it would work with anything that you eventually do with that property, but it would just take what's now kind of an eyesore and turn it into something fairly nice. Raton takes responsibility for coordinating and doing all the work, although when the time comes, I spend a lot of time with Scott and with Dan Campbell and people from the city who've done a heck of a lot of work on this over the years. But it's a good project. The cost to the city is generally almost nothing. This time it may be a little more if we're going to tear down that sign and take that concrete out, but that needs to be done anyway. Other than that, it'll be less expensive than they usually have because we can take the water off one of the El Portal access points and instead of cutting into the street, so it'll be less expense to do, I think, as far as the work we're doing. So that's the project for this year, and I need to get approval from you as a partner to go forward if you want us to.
Any questions?
Are we correct that if you don't accept this grant 1 year, then you don't get it after that? Is that correct?
No, you can apply again. If we were not to do it this year, we could apply again the next year. I don't know how they would treat that. They've told me that this year they have more than twice as many applications as they've ever had before. Only 1 in 5 applications is going to be granted, but we've scored in the highest 1 or 2 in the state the last couple of years, so we've got at least a good chance of getting granted this year.
I think it's a pretty good project myself.
And it's looking good. The ones that you've planted prior to this are all doing really well.
Yeah, they're doing good. We've been lucky. We had somebody break off a couple of them a year ago, but we have a separate fund that we keep that Raton maintains, and bought a couple of new trees and put them in, and not a problem.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2015-30, adopting and directing staff to develop and participate in and assist with the tree planting project.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2015-30, adopting and directing staff to develop, participate in, and assist with the tree planting project. We have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schuster? Yes. Commissioner Giacomo?
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sagata?
Yes.
Mayor Matz?
Yes, motion passes.
Thank you.
Deliberate and act on City of Raton Presbyterian Health Insurance Group Letter of Agreement. Mr. Berry?
Mayor and Commission, we have worked for the past couple of weeks with our insurance carrier. It's Century Financial out of Trinidad that the Commission had selected 2 years ago. And they had signed us up with Presbyterian Insurance Company. This would be a renewal of that plan. I think the important thing to point out to you is that we asked to increase the minimum deductible from $500 to $750, and that's to try to control costs on the insurance coming up for this year. So we really just find out recently what the costs are going to be, and so during budget time, we had budgeted really what we estimated might be the increase, and I think we had budgeted a 12% increase for this year for this plan. In talking to Presbyterian, and we did negotiate a rate that was better than their initial offer, and going to the $750 deductible, in essence, we should be about a 1.5% increase over last year. But we would go into open enrollment, so we would really find out the true cost after we go through open enrollment and we find out which employees enroll in the plan that they enroll for. In addition to the $750 deductible, which the majority of employees opt for, there's a $1,500 deductible, and several employees do opt for that, so that would still remain unchanged. But you see the cost there, in essence, is about a 1.5% increase. So we would recommend approval of the contract that you have. If the commission does approve this tonight, we would schedule open enrollment within the next 2 weeks.
Any other questions for Mr. Berry?
I'd make a motion then that we approve this renewal of the health insurance group plan with Presbyterian Health Insurance.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Presbyterian Health Insurance Group Letter of Agreement. We have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Giacomo,
Yes.
Commissioner Schuster,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sagado.
Yes.
Mayor Mintz.
Yes, motion passes. Voting delegate to attend the annual NMML meeting.
I will be unable to attend this year.
Same here.
I won't be attending.
Mayor and Commission, this is the annual conference of New Mexico Municipal League, September 2nd through September 4th in Albuquerque. You do have the option of appointing a delegate. I would tell you that there has been work on the annual conference resolutions, and I have attended meetings of the taxation committee. There were a number of resolutions that passed that committee that then would go to the full conference. Dan Campbell has attended the meetings of the Environmental Quality Association and resolutions that generally center on environmental legislation that would come from the Environment Department. So we have had some input on the resolutions. I understand there's some conflicts with this schedule. I looked at the program. I don't know that it's really a very good program, to be honest with you, and we look at the expense of going. So I think as far as delegating, appointing a voting delegate, that's really your option. We have had input on these resolutions. It's your option to attend and vote on the final resolutions.
Like I said, I won't be available for it. For you.
I will not be there.
I could go.
It's up to you,
Elected.
essentially.
You're in.
That's fine. Let Wendy be the voting delegate.
Sure,
Sure.
I have no
I
problem.
think Mr. Campbell has planned on attending. I had not really firmed up plans to attend as well. We just have a lot going on here, so we're really looking at that. But Mr. Campbell will
Bad time of the month.
attend.
Judge Manfredi and Sherry are going to.
Well, what it's gonna cost and the programs that are being presented really don't affect our municipality. So I would, for one reason, I'm not gonna be available anyway, but just for that reason of spending that much money for room and board and per diem, I would just like to, let's don't attend, but if you can attend, I think it's great.
I can, but if it's not necessary,
Well, I think it would be
Be
good
nice
for
to
us to
have
have
one.
a
Yeah, and it'd be nice to have
representative.
one
well,
representative,
Yeah.
I will gladly go. Yeah.
voting delegate. Lindy.
Schuster be our voting delegate at the municipal league conference.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to have Commissioner Schuster act as our voting delegate at the annual New Mexico Municipal League meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And
Okay, deliberate and act on board appointments.
Mayor and Commission, we had in the past several meetings asked for applications from interested persons for a number of board vacancies that we have. We have received one application, and this is for the position of RPS trustee. We received one application submitted by Wayne McMurtry that you have in your packet. That's all that we have currently. As we've talked about before, we are looking for applications from interested persons as far as our Economic Development Committee, Planning and Zoning, and Parks and Recreation, I believe.
Okay. Is there,
I'd like to make a motion to accept Mr. McMurtry to the position of RPS trustee.
I'll
second.
second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to appoint Wayne McMurtry as a trustee to the RPS board. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Schuster,
Yes.
Commissioner Giacomo,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sagata,
Yes.
Mayor Mance.
Yes, motion passes. The next item of business is deliberate and act on an event, Raton Homecoming Parade.
Mayor and Commission, Emergency Services had met with the organizers of the proposed Raton Homecoming Parade. You see that the details here are worked out. The parade, there was a discussion of whether to try to schedule a parade on South 2nd Street or South 1st Street. The agreement was to conduct the parade on South 1st Street. I think all of staff has signed off on the review of the event, so we'll be prepared for the event. We have done our due diligence on it and recommend going forward.
Mr. Berry, I'd also like to commend the group for getting us the application in plenty of time. This is the way it should be done instead of last minute.
It's
So
very nice.
One thing I
kudos
noticed
to that.
is insurance.
There is insurance in place.
We did get it this afternoon.
Okay.
So then I'd make
So
a motion, we approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Raton Homecoming Parade to be, to take place on First Street. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Report?
Mayor and Commission, we did have a visit on August 5th and 6th by the Tourism Secretary, Rebecca Latham. The Chamber had made a big effort to show the Secretary attractions that we have here in Raton, and as well, I attended on the 5th as far as meeting Mrs. Latham, and Jason Phillips had also stepped in as far as trying to get her and the staff around. They visited Sugar Reet, they visited NRA, and it was a very positive meeting. And in addition to seeing what we have to offer in Raton and in the area, we did talk about the resources that the Department of Tourism would offer as far as the city and the chamber working with them as far as promotion. So very positive meeting. We were happy, and thanks goes to Secretary Latham for coming to Raton to visit us. I would like to tell the commission that on August 19th, there is a back-to-school bash scheduled at the convention center from 11 to 3 o'clock. This event is organized by J-Jack and Soy. There are numerous sponsors, and it is a free event. So we would like to get the word out on that event. I did receive a grant agreement for the co-op grant SP 416907. That's the grant that we talked about as far as going forward on Tiger Drive. We are still working on the capital outlay grant agreement, so we'll be working on that, trying to get that together. And we talked about the contact with the railroad, so we've placed some calls. We're working on that contact. We did receive full environmental release on the co-op projects for Pecos Avenue and Galisteo Avenue, so we'll proceed into requesting bids for those projects and try to get that to the commission for your approval, probably the first meeting in September. we did receive a partial release of the environmental assessment for the First Street pavement rehabilitation. And the component that's missing there is review from the State Historic Preservation Officer. So the environmental group of DOT has signed off, and they're waiting for the SHPO review. We do have the auditor on hand this week at the city. You see them working in the spare office back here. The auditor is Accounting and Consulting Group. They started yesterday doing their field work, and they'll be here through the week. We also have a technician from Encode Software. They're working with utilities as far as converting some of the functions, generally from Peachtree software into full Encode. So that will take all week. That's a big effort, but there will be some real benefits to making that conversion once we get done. We're also doing some training on payroll through Encode, and Raton Public Service Company will now use the Encode function for their payroll, which we've done here for a while, but we'll have some cross-trained people. We did get a final copy of a new emergency action plan for Lake Maloya Dam. That was completed by Engineering Analytics, and myself and Dan Campbell had gone through that with Engineering Analytics. That will be submitted to the State Engineer Office, and local emergency services will train on a potential emergency regarding Lake Maloya. Just to report on some of the activities around the city of Raton, Public Works has worked primarily on pothole patching, and with the weather, we've really had a lot of potholes showing up. We've tried to prioritize and get the highest priorities. We've got a lot of work to do. Of course, we have vacations, and we've had some people out with various issues, so we've been shorthanded in that area. And finding some of the temp help that we've had in the past has been pretty challenging, but we're using the resources we have primarily to work on the pothole patching. And we'll continue to do that up until we get into the cold weather. Try to go into the winter time in pretty good shape on pavement condition. That's all I have, Mayor and Commission.
Is there any other business to come before this body? Seeing none, meeting adjourned.